Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. This morning I have Miss Olivia Song, a renowned makeup artist, influencer, and model who has been featured in Forbes and a number of other publications all across the nation. Olivia has over 24 million followers across all social media platforms, and I'm honored to have her sit with me this morning. So thank you, Olivia, for coming to share your perspective, and welcome to Tennessee. I know that you're new to Nashville, and I appreciate your first Tennessee interview being here on Perspective, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It is an honor.
Thank you. And so to start off this first segment, I want to talk about your background and education. So just tell me a little bit about Olivia.
Okay, I am from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is actually not that far from Nashville, Tennessee. I was in school originally for fashion design. I started off at University of Cincinnati, and then I transferred to Chicago, Columbia. That's an art school where I did fashion. And while I was in college is where I discovered makeup. Like I ended up just getting a retail job at like a counter in the mall, just because I was a broke college student, and I'm like, let me get a job. But I fell in love with makeup because I was still able to, you know, use my creativity. And during the course of college, I was like, you know what? Fashion is cool, but I think I want to go down this path. So I remember, I think when I started to take makeup really serious was when I was in Chicago. I had worked at the MAC counter, and everybody I feel like has been to the MAC counter to get their makeup done. And, you know, that's where I also started freelancing, because some of the customers that would come in and get their makeup done at the MAC counter, they would ask me like, okay, well, I have this event. If you're not working, would you be able to come to me, or could I come to you outside of MAC? So that was my start in makeup.
Your humble beginning.
Yeah.
And so I know from there, all of America has watched your career blow up over the last 14 years. We've watched you do makeup for resident cast members of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Portia Williams, rappers like Cash Doll, Asian the Brat, so on and so forth. Every household name in pop culture right now has had a face done by Olivia Song. And so I don't even have to go into how your career started, because that is the start. And we've seen you go on to different master classes, influencers, you know, we've seen your impact. But I specifically want to jump to kind of your pandemic era. Now, I know that you were talking about freelancing, and it's kind of hard to do makeup and to do faces during a pandemic. So tell me kind of what inspired Supernatural Cosmetics, or what really led to that.
Oh my gosh, yes. So in the pandemic, I had just moved to Atlanta. I had worked on my craft for years. I think I had been doing makeup at this point for about 7 years, and I had freelanced for maybe about 4 years. And I was like, you know what? I need to get out of Cincinnati and move to a place with some big opportunities and just try my luck. So I moved to Atlanta, and I picked up a lot of clients very fast.
Oh, yeah.
And I was super hopeful about it. I was like on the right path, and then boom, the pandemic. And I'm like, oh no, girl, I remember like I had thought about returning home. I mean, it was me and my son. I think he was 3 years old at the time, and we're in a new city. We had only been there maybe 6 months. Yeah. But so I ended up just kind of having to come up with new ideas. How am I going to sustain us during this time? Because there were regulations in Atlanta during COVID. You couldn't work in the salon. The salons were closed. Now, during the pandemic, a lot of people were doing things on social media, so I would still take some clients at my house because that was getting me through, because they had to do their social media thing. But that wasn't going to be enough for me, so I'm like, you know, what could I do? How could I make some income from home? And then that is when it has always been a dream of mine to have a product line. But that kind of gave me the push. Like, there's no other option. You got to do something. So go ahead and drop some products.
And Olivia, in our second segment, we're going to pick back up. We've talked about the beginning of Supernatural. Now we're going to talk about the actual company, the impact that that's had on the makeup community, and eventually your move to Nashville, Tennessee. And I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where I'll be joined with Olivia Song to discuss the Tennessee beauty industry. Welcome to the second segment of the show for today. You're watching Perspectives with Alana McLaughlin, and I am your host, Alana McLaughlin. This morning, I'm joined by Miss Olivia Song, a renowned makeup artist, model, and influencer who has recently moved to Nashville to start the newest era of her career. In our first segment, we spoke of Miss Song's background and education, ranging everywhere from Cincinnati to Chicago to finally here in Nashville. We talked about early experiences that she had simply working at a retail counter, doing makeup, and eventually freelancing. And we left off in the first segment speaking of her cosmetic line, Supernatural Cosmetics, which was founded during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we spoke about what inspired Miss Song to create this business and eventually what has inspired her to move here to Nashville. And so thank you again for joining me. And just to pick right back up where we left off, you spoke about, you know, having to make a way for you and your son in Atlanta during this pandemic. We talked about the regulations that were set in place by the Georgia government. And now I'll just want to hear about your experiences once you finally started dropping products and really set this in motion.
You know, sometimes things even surprise me. I was very reluctant, you know, to do something for the first time, as probably most business owners are. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but I just went for it, and I was working with a lot of influencers at the time. So this is where it kind of paid off to be the makeup artist, because I can use my products on them. So in a way, you know, a lot of businesses now, they have to pay for influencer marketing, and they pay, you know, whatever fee that someone would charge to promote their products. But for me, I was able to get content from working with the influencers. I had to do the face, so guess whose lashes I'm gonna put on them? Mine.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big reason for my success. And once, I'm also a planner, so I had a whole rollout of commercials and you know, content for my brand. And I mean, the first time I released the lashes, they sold out, and they would sell out within 24 hours during the pandemic.
And I remember, because I called myself trying to buy Supernatural Cosmetics, and oh my gosh, everything would be sold out immediately. And this just goes to show how long I've been a fan. I've used your inspiration photos for my high school prom.
Oh my gosh,
and it goes to kind of show the impact that you have, because you hadn't even been a resident of Nashville yet. You hadn't been here. Even your master classes, I was praying that you'd come to Tennessee, but you were in our major cities, our LAs, Houston, Chicago, and New York, which I wasn't mad at. I was like, she is of that caliber. She deserves this. I will travel for her. But by the grace of God, we've been able to come together right here in town in both our homes. And with that being said, I kind of want to talk about your experience with bridal makeup, which will eventually lead into our final segment, where we'll talk about what you want to bring to the Tennessee community. But before we even get into that, tell me about your interest in this new kind of era of your career.
Oh my gosh. So for a while, like you said, I was living in the big cities. I did the Atlanta, I did the LA, I was in New York a lot for work. And I was working primarily in the entertainment industry with television stars, music artists, reality TV stars, and it worked for the time, you know. My son was kind of young, and I was traveling and moving around so much that I had to have a live-in assistant. So I had someone like living with me and helping me with my son. And I turned 30 last year. And that was like, it was like a light switch for me, where my priorities just completely changed, and I kind of felt more confident to turn down certain things that didn't align with the rest of my life, being a mother, you know what I mean? So that, I missed out on a lot with my son. So when I turned 30 and he's 5, getting ready to start school, I'm like, I can't do all this travel no more. I'm like hopping to city. I'm at the airport 4 times a week. So I wanted to get stability. I wanted to be more present for this time in his life. And also, I kind of worked myself down, burnt myself out, you know, just doing all this work in the industry. So I told myself, I want to take it back. I want to take it back and get back into the bridal industry, which is something that I did before working in the entertainment industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, did this coincide with you working the retail counter, or was this after that?
No, this was after that, when I was freelancing in my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. And I was doing a whole bunch of bridal in the salon that I actually worked at. Everybody did bridal there. And it was a beautiful time. I love the environment. It's someone's special day. It's a lot of family. It's a lot of love. It allows me to be stationary in the city that I'm at. So yeah, it's comfortable for me. I think like it was the perfect transition that just made sense for my life right now.
I feel that. And just for kind of our viewers who are a little ignorant to makeup like myself, what kind of foundational differences do you find between bridal and, say, entertainment makeup?
Oh, yes. So bridal is like very soft and elegant and timeless. And, you know, you don't want to, it's not trendy. You don't want to look at your photos from your big day years from now and say, oh my gosh, why did I get that cut crease or do that bold lip? No, it captures the essence of femininity, like it's soft, so, which really is my style of makeup that I brought really to entertainment.
It is.
So I'm kind of, bringing it back.
You are, and not even kind of, you have seriously revolutionized a generation's worth of young women. I can even remember the transition from, you know, the heavy smoky eyes and the heavy lashes, the blocky eyebrows, to you showing us those softer faces on television, on all the shows that we watch, every entertainment show, Black entertainment, so on and so forth. And you, as a Korean African-American woman, you've been able to move across a bunch of different spaces and be able to showcase different minority women, different skin colors, and different textures with this soft makeup. And in our final segment, we're going to talk about what really just finally drove you to bring that here to Nashville, Tennessee. And we're going to talk about how the Tennessee communities can support you. And in our final segment, I encourage our viewers to tune in with me and Olivia Song to discuss the Tennessee beauty industry. Welcome to the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning, I have Miss Olivia Song, a world-renowned makeup artist, model, and influencer, here to discuss the Tennessee beauty industry. In our first 2 segments, we spoke of Miss Song's career, background, and education, starting in Cincinnati, Ohio, and now, finally, in Nashville, Tennessee. We spoke about her experiences with different influencers, actors, musicians, actresses, and those of the likes. We spoke about how her son and how other changes in her life have encouraged her to live a more mellow life and to live a bit calmer of a life than being directly in the entertainment industry. And again, Ms. Song, thank you for just joining me this morning to share your perspective. I know this is your first interview here in Tennessee as a resident, and I'm extremely honored that you're here sitting with me.
Thank you.
And yeah, to just keep our ball rolling, we've had a great episode. I want to pick back up on the Tennessee bridal industry. We spoke in our second segment about the differences between bridal and entertainment makeup and how it's a lot more it's a lot deeper of an industry than most people would think. And I really want to talk about what you see here in Nashville or in Tennessee in terms of the bridal industry.
Oh, well, Nashville has a huge bridal industry. Everybody, since I've decided to move to Nashville, they tell me, oh yeah, like Broadway is where all of the bachelorette parties go. And I've already went to some events with bridal vendors. It's a big thing here. So once I heard that, and then Nashville was so close to home too, I'm like, oh, this is the place for me.
Oh, yeah. And I know that you're currently working with another makeup artist, Makeup by Haley.
Yes.
And how did you meet her and get involved with her?
Well, you know, being in the same industry, I connect with other artists from all over. So really, we were just kind of friends on social media, and we'll compliment each other's work and we'll chit chat. And when she saw that I came here, she reached out to me, and I was like, whoo, thank God, you know what I mean? Because I was gonna have to look for a suite space, and she already had one readily available. So I love it.
And you opened your bookings on September 10th.
Yes.
Yes, so you are currently accepting bookings.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome, because I know, especially within my peer group, we've all looked at you and been like, oh man, if I could afford her face, if I could ever get with her. And now that you're here and your prices are actually affordable, they're very reasonably priced, from $150 to, you know, your master class at $1,500, which is still very reasonable for a woman with your career and with your experience and talent. And really, talent aside and makeup aside, the entertainment industry aside, I want to talk about just Olivia, the woman of faith, the mother. Tell me about your faith journey. I know I've heard you reference God in multiple different spaces. You've even just said thank God now. And I like to talk about that with my guests because I am a devout Christian. I'm a member of John Wesley United Methodist Church here in Nashville. And so I kind of just want to ask you about your faith.
Okay, well, we got to talk later. I've been looking for a church.
Yes, ma'am.
So earlier this year, I'm going to go ahead and call myself a born again in Christ this year. Which actually is another reason why my brand was called Supernatural Cosmetics, but it's under renovation right now. We're going to relaunch with a new name called No Idol. So yes.
And tell me, what kind of inspired that? I know that the Lord speaks to us through different ways, and honestly, with me, with finding my faith, it was just one day I woke up where I was like, the Lord is telling me that I need to move differently, I need to think differently. Did you have a similar kind of experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, when I turned 30 once again, it was like everything was just kind of laid out in front of me, like what truly aligns with who I am, and I had the confidence to seek after it. Like there is something missing from my life, which was Christ.
Yeah.
So the more that I looked inward and reflected on my career and my relationships with my friends and family, and how I would like to raise my son in the state of the world today, it sent me on a journey.
Now, and on this journey, as a minority woman, how has that been? Do you feel like this journey has been one that you've kind of walked alone? Do you feel like other influencers, other minority influencers are kind of experiencing the same thing?
You know, I am not alone. I have friends that definitely uplift me through this journey. They encourage me, and they're on the same journey as well. And I think more so, some of my friends were just kind of waiting for me to come along.
Yeah.
That's more of what it was.
And
So,
I understand
yes.
the Lord speaks to us through different ways and at different times, and I totally understand that. But I'm glad that on this journey you've had support and you've had love from, I know, millions of strangers. But I'm glad that your support system has still stuck.
Yes.
And Olivia, another question, kind of on that same tip, is how do you balance this life while being a mother?
I've had to start a routine for sure, because when I was in my career just running and moving around, I didn't have too much structure in my life. So now I have a routine. My son is in school You know, we're getting up early, we're going to sleep at a decent hour. It's like the same thing every day, but I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
And that's a huge difference from what you're used to. You're used to the long nights and the early mornings.
Yes.
And really, I guess to just kind of summarize this whole thing up and to wrap this, I want to know, what do you want from the Tennessee community? I know that off camera we spoke and you didn't know that you had such a deep following here in Tennessee, and you do. Let me be the one to tell you.
Oh my gosh.
But tell me how you'd like to impact the city and how you'd like to be supported.
You know, I am just kind of here to share my craft with anyone that wants to sit in my chair. Any makeup artists that, like you said, who may not been able to make it to LA or New York or Atlanta to get a class. I would like to be a resource to anybody here. I want to do the bridal industry and work with some amazing brides for their special day. And Nashville is definitely just going to be a place where I could wind down my life and be present and raise my family, girl.
This is a nice city to do so. It has enough of the bustle to where you can still work in entertainment and still, you know, make your money.
Yes.
But it's safe enough and quiet enough to where you can raise a family. And have you ever lived somewhere as kind of quiet as Nashville?
Well, my hometown.
Yeah.
So I think I was having to adjust to the big cities more than anything. This is like just my speed.
Yeah. And the last question that I'll ask in this segment while we have these last few minutes of our episode, how can people support you? I know through social media and through bookings, but just supporting Olivia the woman. What can people do?
Book me, come sit in my chair, bring a smile, you know what I'm saying? I've loved all my clients thus far. Nashville has a super positive energy.
It does.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself moving anywhere else in the next 5 years or so?
Nope.
Man, this might be the final stop.
Yeah, this might be it.
Wow. And Olivia, the last thing that I want to ask you before we close out this episode is, what is one thing that you would leave with a budding makeup artist who looks at this episode and says, God, I want to sit in her spot? What piece of advice would you leave for that young person?
Never give up on yourself. Never let anybody project any doubt on you, and maintain your confidence and keep moving forward no matter what.
So basically just stay true to you.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And with that being said, thank you, Miss Song, for an amazing episode and for sharing your perspective. And to my viewers, thank you for tuning in one more morning and allowing me the space to share these perspectives. Thank you and good morning.